Um, well, hey everybody, 24 of us. Thanks everybody for joining on this and learning more about what we're working on. I'm going to hand it over to Mark to kind of lead the way in answering questions, but we really want this to be an open forum and want general membership to you guys just ask questions, concerns. We'll try to do our best to answer those. I want everyone to know also that you know Mark has done a wonderful job in spearheading this and putting a lot of time and a lot of effort into this, and he has the board support on this. But I do want y'all to know that it came, this document that was presented to the chapter was a team effort by many people. Mark did the work, and he met with members of the rate committee, Charlie and Marvin, and they put together some information and kind of what they felt, the changes that would kind of address the big concerns. Then Mark and I met extensively, and I had a lot of questions, and we went through it. We talked about some little adjustments here and there, and things we talked about with the board. And then the full board met, and pretty much everybody was on, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 people. And the board, we had extensive, exhausting conversation about it. Mark did a great job in presenting the policy and providing the information and answering questions there. And then based out of that, over like 3-hour meeting, we came up with this document to present to the chapter. So there's been a lot of input from a lot of people, and what we've tried to do is address the 4 main things that people have told us were the biggest problems they had with it. One was not getting enough feedback, wanting film. 2, wanting to get rated at what they call real game, not a AAU game or something like that, a club game, but a high school game. 3, wanting, feeling that maybe there was some bias by the rater, and so not feeling comfortable with who was rating them. And then 4 was having to get rated every other year. And so we've tried as a group really hard to address those 4 concerns. Is this the end all be all that we're presenting? No, that's why we're doing this. And we want to get everybody's feedback. And ultimately we want to do what the membership wants. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of reference so you know that there have been a lot of things put into this, and it wasn't just one-time document done. In the past, we haven't even done this. There was a policy created, the board vote for it, and then we showed it to the membership and said, this is your policy. We're not doing that anymore. And so that's why we're going through this process. So I just want us to have a positive, open discussion, and know that this isn't all written in stone. And we're gonna work to do what everyone thinks is fair. And so with that, Mark, I don't know if you want to say a few words before you open up for questions, but please, go ahead.
Not really. Just appreciate you guys coming on here, and I think this, just to touch on piggyback on Diana, it's the first time we've actually brought in the general membership since I've been in. To her point, it's kind of the board just puts out policies and we just kind of roll with it. So I'm glad that we're allowing general membership for input, and don't think that we're not going to take that into consideration after this. I think the goal is to get some feedback, and then the board will meet again and we'll go over it and see what, we're trying to improve it every year. Every year we've worked hard. This will be our 4th year. I think it's come a long way in the 4 years, and this isn't my system. Just to touch on Dana's, I talked to the board, I talked to other chapters across this Texas and other ones. So it's something that we need, but of course it needs to continue to get better, just like the chapter needs to continue to grow, so do our systems. So any questions you have, that's all I'm here to do. Hopefully everybody watched the video and you were able to get the policy. I do have the policy on here. So if you have questions, I can easily pull it up. I can share my screen. I can, in a couple of clicks, get the policy up for us to look at and dive into it. But I'm all open for any questions that you may have that you are unsure of, or concerns that you need answered. and we'll just go from there. The only one thing I do say is if you're not talking, just stay muted so we don't have any background noise. All you got to do is unmute yourself. I don't know, Chris, you can handle everybody who you want to speak up next as you're on here, and we can just, proceed from there.
Hey, Mark, this is Brian Sinclair, and I appreciate everything you do, man. I appreciate your passion and the dedication, and I echo what Diana had said. Thanks for stepping up and taking being the leader of this project. And I know there's been a lot of other people involved, so appreciate that. Hello to everyone. I got a question in regard to the DDR. It sounds like we've really developed a relationship with these people, and I think it's fantastic for this chapter. You had mentioned in your video that the DDR will be doing the evaluations for the 3-person crew, pretty much the varsity officials that are and playoff officials. Will they follow this criteria that you've created, or do they have their own criteria when they go out and they receive these videos as far as the evaluation system goes? The criteria that you've established, are they going to follow that?
Okay, yeah, good question. And to answer it shortly, yes. So they have our policy. I've talked to Martin extensively about how, yes, we're turning it over to them, but we're not giving them full reign to do it. It's still our system. It's the system that we have in place, and they need to follow it. That's why I asked for a sample first. Hey, can you do a game? And then he asked me, hey, when was your game? And then he was able to find our game on NFHA's network. And then he said, hey, we'll do this for you. I'll send it to an NBA ref. Let's take a look, see what it looks like. And that's why he came back with the sample. Me seeing that sample made me feel so much more comfortable about them doing it. Like I said, this has been in the works for maybe over a month, that we've gone back and forth before I even brought this to the chapter, because I wanted to see what they were all about. One, I asked them how many could they do a week, who was going to be on staff, what's realistic. Because what I didn't want to do is make some promises. Then we come back a year from now and everyone's like, yo, this is not what you had said. So I wanted to do a lot of legwork on my end before to do that, to see the credibility, see how hard they work, and to get a sample of what it was. So when I got the sample back, I'll be honest, I was blown away. We're not doing this, right? I looked at it, I was like, wow, this is our game, 21 clips, has a video for every single one. That's what people have been asking about, right? I need to see video. You can write it down, but I need to see film. I need to see what they're talking about with a description. So they did that, and then the criteria would be the same. So they're going to go off the criteria they have. All the NBA referees have the packet that they've done for them, and they're basically just going to go through it. The biggest concern I do have is going to be the NBA rules and the high school rules, and I'm going to go over it because I'm sure someone has a question about that, and that will be probably the hardest thing to deal with at first, because of our rules are different. But as far as basketball coverages and everything else that we talk about, movement, positioning, call selection, PCAs, that's all going to be the same. Of course, the rules may be a little different, and that's where I'll step in. Now, I can tell you, Martin, who's on all the calls, he's kind of the spearhead for DDR. That guy has been in his high school book since the moment I met him, because what they wanted to do first is what they do already, DDR for NBA and college, they want to do that for high school. So that's how they met me. They found me randomly. I don't know how they found me. And we started talking months and months ago. And they wanted to come up with a software, a program, a system, whatever you want to call it, for high school referees. So he's huge on getting in the book. He has the books. They want to do a library. They want to do manuals like they do for everything they do at the NBA and college level. They want to bring that down to high school. And to their point, and what they're finding out is the training at the high school level is nothing like it is at the NBA and college level, which is true. Also, there's way more high school referees than there are anywhere else in any other league. There's 60 plus in NBA. There's maybe a couple, thousands in college. And then you get into high school, we're in, thousands and thousands of people. So that's where they really want to help, is training and getting high school referees better, because we work more games than anybody at any level in the entire world. So I wanted to touch on that. But to answer your question, yes, they're going to go off the criteria that we've had in the past, as far as all the, I think it's 8 or 9 things, call selection, appearance, all that. And then they're also going to give a score based on the tiers. So they have the criteria, and then they're going to have the entire tier system, understanding a 100, a 150, a 200. They're going to understand all of those types of things as well. Hopefully that answers your question and some
No,
and other ones.
it does. And that was actually, I had a follow-up question. Will they be giving us a ranking number like a 100 or 150 or 200 or et cetera? Or are they going to submit their evaluation and then your team's going to come up with the ranking number?
Good question. So we went over that. So what we're going to do is they're going to give us three. So just say they give us a game. There's going to be, each referee is going to have a score. And then myself, Marvin, and Charlie, before it even gets submitted, because I always get a document and I submit it to the referee. Now, I can tell you that all the referees are going to get the same breakdown that I showed on the meeting, but you're not going to see each other's score. So, for instance, say the crew was Aaron, Brian, and James Young. So all three of you would get that breakdown with the clips, and then separately you're going to get a document like I did in the past giving your score so that no one will see each other's score. Now, to answer the question is myself, Marvin, and Charlie are going to look at everyone's score. It's not going to go out until the three of us have had a conversation. And if something just doesn't look right, we have the right, and we talked about it with the board, to change that score based on we know the referee more. You know, just say, Brian, you didn't have a great game, and they give you a 500. We're like, yo, that is not right. We know Brian's not a 500 referee. Let's come together, figure out what happened, and then we're going to give the score that we feel that you're deserving of, knowing that we know you. I don't think it's going to happen a whole lot, but I can tell you, myself, Charlie, and Marvin have discussed it. We want to help people's scores. So if a score comes in and it's higher than we feel like it is, that's what it's going to stay at. Now, if it's lower, absolutely, I feel that we're going to have to come in and help someone score. We want as many people to get higher scores. It, one, makes our chapter better, and it sure makes our assigners' job a lot easier to get people. But there's got to be some accountability as well. You're not just going to handing out scores for the fun of it. You got to put in the work. But that's what we're trying to do. But answer your question, yes, myself, Charlie, and Marvin can change scores based on a case-by-case referee.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. I think Art had a question. He raised his hand. Art, you got a question?
Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Listen, I want the question to sound, the way I intend it to be sound. So this evaluation is going to be done by this organization, but it sounds like you have the ultimate say-so as to whether the score is a 100, a 400, a 500, or at least you and two other people. So then so the end result is that our chapter still gets to decide what the score is. Then is the need then just simply to evaluate and record and, visibly see officials on the video? And are we doing that because we can't do that? And we have not had the ability to do that? So
okay,
we're moving forward with this organization, but the ultimate score still rests upon the, you and Marvin and someone else?
All right, so two parts to that. The first one is it's going to be a case-by-case, and I think it's going to be very few referees when the scores come in. Based on the interaction I've had with them, the type of people that we're using, NBA referees and very credible, the best in the world, these scores are not going to be all over the place. So I don't think it's going to be like here comes another score. It's going to be very few. I'm talking less than a handful. I believe every season that they do it, it'll be less than 5 that we may have some issues with. That's number one. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal. I really think that myself, Marvin, and Charlie are not going to have to change pretty much hardly any scores. If it is, then that may be an issue. Then we don't go to. But I honestly believe the feedback we got from our game and the scores we got from me, Mac, and Jared, I mean, it's spot on. I truly believe that. The second part is, yes, we did go to DDR because we've tried for the last 3 years to get evaluators out there, to get people to film, right? We just can't do it. We touched about this in the board meeting. If you take North Texas, for example, they're able to do this because they have 12 to 15 referees that are retired. They do not work at all, and they go out every single night, and they film, they evaluate, they give feedback. This is what we want to do, but we haven't been able to do it the last 3 years because we don't have anybody that is retired or referees that want to step down and retire and do this. Nobody wanted to spearhead the evaluation. I tried to offer it up to about 10 veteran referees. Nobody wanted to do it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just take this on. So I ended up doing that, but I was really hoping that some veterans would step up and do it and give back at the later end of their career. So we can't do it. We've tried for 3 years. We've tried to get people to step up and do it. It's really hard during the season. And this is an excuse, a lot of our top referees are college referees. They're working close to 80 to 100 ball games a season. It's impossible to ask them, hey, can you get out here? If they get one night off a week, maybe they get one off. Man, they want to rest. They don't want to be out doing it. And typically the night that they're off, there's no games. There's no high school games. It's going to be, maybe a slow night where there's not many assignments for us. So to answer that, we did try. It didn't work out. So I feel like this was the best way to go to get the best product that what we're trying to get to.
Hey, so I want to follow up really quick. I want to make something really clear that Mark stated it, but I want to make sure everybody understands it. So I want to reiterate it. When he says about the final score and looking at it, if it looks off, that Marvin and he and Charlie would have a discussion. I want y'all to be very clear and understand that that's only if it's going to go up. Okay? That is essentially, that would be a help to the referee. If they come back and get a score at 300 and say, man, no, I think this ref is a 200, then they're going to look at it and go up. They're not going to get a score of 200 or 100 and say, nah, man, that guy's not a 1 or 200. We're going to knock him down to 300. It's not going to go down. It's only going to go up. Okay? So I really want to be clear on that. So the control that we have is to help people's rating score, not to hurt it. Okay. And it's just a last check that I think would be beneficial and would be helpful to officials. Again, it's not going to go down from what is given back from DDR. I want to make that really clear.
But can I interject just a quick thought?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Of course.
All right. So everything you're saying is, I completely understand what you're saying, but also want you to understand that, and again, that, I don't want to be the guy who, has a negative interjection about everything, but
no, Art, this is what this is for. Please.
About referees and so you're talking about Marvin and Charlie and I don't know, maybe because I don't work with these guys that often, and they don't see me to work with me all that often. My point being that I think they have a perceived notion of where I am and where I need to be, and I don't know if video is going to help that or I just want to be realistic about it because we're not really at saying what we're thinking, which is let's be honest. I think people have a perceived notion about certain officials in the chapter, and I don't know if that helps anyone.
Hey, Art,
Okay.
I just want to interject something. I think that's part of the reason we are going to something like DDR, because they don't have a perceived notion. And that's why we're asking them to look at these films and to evaluate, because they don't have any perceived notion of any of us.
I agree. I really want you to, I want to thank you for saying that, because you're right. They are an independent organization reviewing officials. But here's here's what kind of sticks in my mind. I was in a chapter meeting once with another chapter where Marty McCutcheon was there, and another NBA official that he introduced that was young at the time. He's probably a veteran now. And when the crew or when the officials started asking them questions, they were like, well, we really don't know. And neither one of us have ever called high school ball before. So, it kind of was like, kind of left the chapter members thinking, well, then what are they here for? They're NBA officials. And to Mark's point, they're probably the best officials in the world. But, what do they know about high school ball? They've been calling, prima donna basketball their whole lives, dealing with players who I'm not going to say, I don't really know what they're doing, to be honest with you, but.
All right, I got a question for you. Did you look at did you look at the?
Did I look at what now?
Go ahead, Marvin.
Art, like Mark said, we've been trying to do this for years. We got many officials that keep asking us to provide video to them for feedback, to let them know where they are. and get information to so they can go work on that and become better officials. So now that we've got a program trying to put in place that we're using unbiased officials away from our chapter, who, regardless of their level, know where officials need to be on a basketball floor on every given play as a lead, as a slot official, or trail official. And this program is only going to help us as a whole, as a chapter.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that, Marvin. Again, I just, I wanted to understand the pieces of it. It's a new program for us, and I have no doubt that they know placement, they probably know call selection, and at their level, I'm trying to understand how they're going to look, do now. Maybe it would help if you give me some background about this organization and have they done high school reviews in the past, or are they growing toward that?
Art, did you look at did you see the breakdown that I put on the video of what they gave us? They gave us a sample of what they're going to do. It was our game, myself, Mac, and Jared, our game. They took a high school game and they took 3 referees from our chapter and did an entire breakdown and sent it. Did you get a chance to look at that?
Actually, no. I looked at your presentation.
Yeah, it was on there.
The breakdown of okay, then I probably neglected to do that.
Oh, here you go. Because I want to make sure that because great questions, all very good questions. I hope everybody can see my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here's exactly what it would look like, Art and everybody else. So this is what it would come through to every crew. Now there would be no score because the score would come through individually, but this would get sent out to the crew, right? Crew chief, U1, U2, and it would have DDR staff. And then it's this game had 21 clips for us all on the side. So it tells you the type, the description. So for instance, traveling, when does white, which is home team number 3, establish a pivot foot? Which one is his pivot foot? Do we have a travel in this play? How's our positioning to adjudicate this play? Right? So this is what they're putting. And this is a no call, incorrect. And then it has a video. So you click on the video and it goes right to it. So you have 21 of these, right? So here it is, number 3, pivot foot, boom, boom. We have a travel. We have a missed travel. So you go through all these clips as a crew or individually. You can look at your clips and also your partners. They did a really good job of giving 7 per referee. We had 21 and 7 each, so they were able to kind of balance it out. So everybody's not like you get 1 clip and some referees getting 20 clips. And then you would just have a great post-game discussion, maybe a few days later when you get this, and you can go through every clip. Then you can also take these clips to your next game. Like if I had this on a Tuesday and then I had a game, I got this before my Friday game. Hey guys, hey, we had a game last Tuesday and we missed 3 travels. Let's take a look at these clips because they're from our games. They're from games in San Antonio. So it's going to be our players, our coaches, the teams that we see. So these are going to be trends. Another thing I wanted to add while it's just on the top of my head is I'm going to send out clips to crew chiefs and referees twice a week. So on a Tuesday night, all the referees will get 2 clips from me. Hey, this is what we're seeing from these. Like, hey, we're seeing a lot of perimeter travels. Here are 2 clips to you to show in your pregame. Maybe Friday, we're looking at verticality plays. Hey, we've had a bunch of, incorrect verticality plays where offense is initiating contact and we're having whistles on the defense or whatever it is, right? And those are going to go out. So we're going to be continually training throughout the season where I can take these. If I'm looking at these and I'm seeing this something consistent in a week that we're really bad on travels or legal screens, then okay, then I can get that out to the chapter. It's only going to make us better. But this is the type of breakdown that every crew would get. I don't see us doing this. I don't know how we can clip films and give a description on every single one, understanding if we got it right, we didn't get it wrong. I mean, I went through this with Jared, unfortunately not with Mac, but me and Jared went over it, and it was like, yeah, I remember that play. You remember that play? Remember this one? I mean, we had a big play down the stretch that we ended up getting wrong, and it was on here, and me and Jared were able to talk about it. It only made us better as a crew. So this is just so everybody can see. This is what it would look like, just like this. So If you want to ask, do they know what they're doing? I can send this to you, Art. If you want to read exactly what they're saying to say do they know high school, do they not? I can tell you this, they know basketball, they know refereeing. And that's, to me, the bigger point is not getting so caught up in, are they high school referees or not? This is right here showing us what kind of talent they're bringing to the table. This is a phenomenal. This is probably the best breakdown I've ever had. And I've been to many camps. I've been a lot of places, and I was blown away by this. I honestly didn't think it was going to be like this. Now, I did talk to DDR and said, hey, this is phenomenal. Is every single one going to look like this? They said, absolutely. This is the kind of product they want to put to us, and they want to continue to grow every single time that they do it. So hopefully that,
Hey, Mark,
helps.
before you
Yes.
click off.
Yep.
I stepped away for a second. Did you show a clip?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me? This
Yes.
is a BB.
Yep.
Great program that you and Marvin are trying to put out. And I have to echo and had a couple of questions. I think when you sent the initial video out, you said if they don't know the high school rules and stuff, you would send it to them. So that might be why Art is asking what level are they comfortable with. I understand that they are NBA officials. The difference between the NBA official, college official, and high school official are all different. Yes, it's a process that you're trying to do. I can take my hat off to it. And the other thing I had a question was, as you state, you got the clips back. So who's doing the points or saying what level you at? Because if it goes back to what Art is saying, if the same people are determining what level you are, then we're in the same car, maybe a different color on it. So I'm not throwing rocks. I'm just saying I hear what Art's saying. I hear what you're saying. What answers do you have for those two questions?
I don't understand the question, BB. I'm sorry. What was the question?
The question is, first Art was asking about the level, the NBA officials. In the video you sent out last week, you had stated during your presentation, if there's something that they don't understand, you would have to explain it to them. So you can kind of say, go ahead.
On rules. So I was so I asked DDR, I said, okay, what would be the concerns that we may, or some conflicts that we may come into? And they said, the NBA say we have a play and we have a layered play. We got technical foul and this, and maybe one's an ejection, one's a not, right? So they're looking and be like, okay, this is how we would adjudicate it in the NBA. We may have an F1, an F2, we go to point interruption, we shoot one free throw. Well, we know that's not what it is in high school, right? So they're going to still look at that and say, okay, this is how we would adjudicate it. We're not 100% sure on the high school level. They're going to send that to Martin. Martin's going to say, hey, Mark, we had a game. We had this happen, this happened, this. And what is the correct way in high school? Do we adjudicate it? Okay, well, we would go here. We shoot 2 shots. We're going to give the ball back to the division. Okay, cool. All right, they did it right or they did it wrong. That would be it. How many rules do we typically fall on? Not that many, right? The main focus is going to be on positioning, call selection, judgment, appearance, primary coverages, all that type stuff. Then if they can cover all of that. So we're talking like 95% of the evaluation is going to be covered by them. I was just saying strictly on rules that they may not know. Now I can tell you, Martin, who's the guy that's, like I said, is kind of the main guy for DDR. He's been in his rule book so much the last 4 or 5 months. He probably knows high school rules better than most of us do in the chapter. So he's making sure he's doing everything he needs to on his end where they don't need to ask me questions. But I did say, if you have questions on a rule you're unsure of, absolutely call me. Don't then fill out evaluation form with the wrong rule and you get it and you've got an NBA rule saying that you shoot 1 shot in a technical foul. You're going to be like, Mark, what is this? So that was it. That's all I said on the as far as the presentation was. It was going to touch on rulings, not anything else.
Right.
Mark, what I've heard from both.
It's good. Can I get the second part of the question as well?
Okay, which was that again? Sorry.
And the second part is, as you state, as the ratings or as your evaluation comes back, now who's going to determine where do you fall?
As far as the score?
Yes.
They are. They give a score to each referee, and that's your score. Unless if it's a low score that myself, Marvin, and Charlie don't agree on. Put it this way: when the score comes in, myself, Marvin, and Charlie are going to look at every single evaluation. So we're going to know, okay, this is the crew. You know, Matt got this, Jared got this, Mark got this. Okay, that's their scores. And then we're just going to be like, everything good on that? Okay, we're good. Then we submit it. It's only going to be if someone comes in, you know, say for instance, Malcolm Freeman got a 300. They gave Mac a 300 for this game. Okay, well, we know Mac's not a 300. We know that he's a 100 referee. So we would talk and say, all right, not sure what happened there. Okay, but we know that Malcolm Freeman's not a 300. And the process would probably be is I would make a phone call and say, hey, is there a reason why this individual got a 300? And then get some feedback on them. And then we would decide what we wanted to do. But like to Dinah's point, we're only bumping people up. Like if we get someone that's a 100 and we don't particularly believe they're a 100, right? Well, they're a 100 because we're not going to, that would be us taking over the system and us having full control in it. We're not going to do that. We're going to allow these evaluators to put their non-biased score in it. The only ones we would change is to help a referee, not hurt him.
With that being said, I understand, but as we all age and our skills can diminish, and we're not running up the court like we should. So if they come back and you're a veteran and they don't think you should be that high, why would you go behind them and say, no, we know this person and it should be better? Then it becomes bias because you're going off of what you think the person is rather than the evaluation.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just letting you know. That's what it sounds like. What you said.
Let me respond to that question because I'm also getting private comments about this. If the membership doesn't want them to do that and wants us to stick to what they say, that's done. That's not an issue. That's not a problem. We put this in place to help officials. If people, we're doing it to give more people an opportunity. If people are going to think that there's bias coming into that, and we want to take that out, then we can. If you don't want them to touch those scores, if that's what the majority of the membership wants, then we can leave it as they have it. We wanted just to be able, the board had a consensus that there wanted to be a way to be able just to help people if needed. But if people feel that that's not something fair for some reason, although it's put in place to help, then we can definitely take that out. I mean, if that's what the membership wants, you know?
Look, listen, I didn't want the discussion to go this long. I simply was trying to understand how the process, no, and I appreciate all that. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say that, but I think Mark made a great point just a moment ago, and you know, and as well as Marvin, you know, so I think I think it's a good evaluation system so far from what I've heard. I don't think certain perceptions are ever going to be taken out of that, but I do like the fact that Mark and Marvin said, you know, basketball, you know, the placement, the call selection, I have no problem with. I hope after 25 years of officiating, I still have the, you know, that attitude that I want someone to tell me, you know, if I incorrectly, you know, inserted myself in a 3-man rotation and made a call that number one was out of my primary, or, you know, and give me an opportunity to explain that. But I don't have a problem with that. I actually, you know, basketball is basketball, and placement and call selection and rule knowledge and all that. I don't have a problem with any of that. So if at some point, as Mark said just a moment ago when Fred was asking a similar question, if their response is going to be, well, this is how we would have handled it in the NBA, and then they get feedback from the chapter saying, but in high school, this is what we normally, this is the process of how we handle this. I don't have a problem with that. So I you know, my question was answered just a moment ago. So I think I think number one, it's a better system than we've had in the past. And even if it was a very small or limited, you know, evaluation system, it's still better than what we've had in the past. So, you know, I don't want to continue the discussion too much longer. I know people within this meeting have other questions, so please open it up to the rest of the crew.
Okay, I got one from Joe Trujillo. So he said, good question. How are you going to determine the first round of referees to be evaluated? So I wanted to touch on something that maybe some other questions may help with some other questions that may come later in the meeting. I know an issue is the 100s that have to get, we put them there ranked every 5 years. Now that was a drastic change, and that's why I put it on my video, going from every other year to now 5 years. That's up for discussion for sure. All right. The only reason is that why we decided we came up with 5 years is one reason was that we think it'll take about, anywhere from 3 to 5 years to get the entire chapter ranked. So then after 5 years, then we just roll over and we start all over again. That was reason number one. Number two is looking at our 100s, there are top referees, and I honestly don't in the next 3 to 5 years see those referees going anywhere but staying at 100s. Also, we want to focus not on the 100s, we want to focus on the majority of the people. We want to try to get everybody where? To the 100s, to the 150s, to the 200. We want to push everybody higher because that grows our chapter and again gives people more opportunities to work high level games and makes our signing job, his job, a lot easier to put people in games. So the question is who are we going to go next? Well, we're not going after the 100s. We want to go after everybody else. 150s, 200s, 300s, 400s, 500s. We want to go after the mass, the bulk of the chapter to get them done first, and then try to push them and get them better and help them grow and improve. So everybody's score in the first 2 or 3 years has improved. Then we can start focusing on the very small. There's only 20 something, 21, 22 that are 100s. Now I understand that some people have some concerns about, well, why do they have to get ranked every 5 years? Why are they any different? That was nothing to do with them individually. It was more to do with, I think it'll take that long to get everybody ranked because we're trying to get anywhere from 50 to 75 ranked each year. 50 varsity, 50 sub-varsity, so anywhere from 100 to 150, which is hard. To get 100 to 150 referees ranked every year is not easy, again, but I want them to be quality. If we're worried about getting 200 done, 250 done every year, now it doesn't turn into quality, it turns into quantity. It's all about numbers. And we tried that the first year. It was a mess at Mission Concepcion when we tried to put crews of 4 together, right? And we would just, and it was rushed. Absolutely. I would take 100% of the blame for that. I was all in. I was way too much in. I was pushing it too hard and I wanted to push, and it backfired because we were more worried about getting quantity and then quality. So I don't want to do that again. I learned from my mistakes. I don't want to get 200 people ranked every season. Let's just go after a small one, get really quality evaluations, maybe try to get 2 or 3 a week is what we're looking at from DDR. They think they can do 2 to 3 a week at a quality rate like I showed on here. This is what we want. If I start sending 4 or 5 to them a week, they're going to come back with not good quality. I don't want to do that. So to answer your question, Joe, it's going to be 150s, 200s, 300s, 400s, and anybody else that wants to get ranked. Anybody who wants to get ranked. If you want to get ranked and you're your first year in, you're a transfer and you say, I want to get ranked, absolutely. And that's what we're gonna try to do. But I think we want to go after the 150s, 200s, and 300s first. And then we try to get the 400s and 500s done over the summer. So during the season, I expect us, myself, Marvin, and Charlie sitting down and trying to dissect that list, that 150, 200s, and 300s, going after who we truly want to get done in the first few years. Any other, hope that answered your question, Joe? I think it did. Okay, I'm looking at some here. Will officials know their scheduled evaluation? No. Good question. So no, you will have no idea when you're getting evaluated. So it's not gonna be like, hey, you're being evaluated for this game. The way that we're gonna do it, I just say because I'm in charge of getting the film from the coaches. Myself, Marvin, and Charlie will look just real simple. We look at a week. Let's say, and we start in December. So we're going December, January, February, nothing in November, right? We want to start, give everybody a month to get back in. So let's take the first week of the season. We got tournaments. Myself, Charlie, and Marvin beforehand would try to get crews together, before that need to get ranked. Because what we don't want to do is have crews where only 1 or 2 need to get ranked. We obviously, if we're paying $5 each person, right? We want to use that money sensibly, wisely, and have all 3 of them ranked. So if we're sending that film off, all 3 of them need to come back with a score. right? It wouldn't make sense if we're just getting one. So we're going to be careful about the crews we put together, and then just say, all right, this week, let's get this crew done and this crew. We're going to pick 2 crews for that week, whoever it may be. Let's go with this one and this one. And then my job is, when those games are over, is to email that, hey, coach, I need the film for this. We're doing our ranking. I've had not one coach ever not send me film. And all the requests I've done over the last, I don't know how many years, I've never had a coach say, nope, not sending you a film, Mark. Always got it. So it's not going to be a big deal. I get that link. All I do is download that link, and I send that link to DDR. And I say, hey, here's game number 1, and here's the date. That's it. And all the information I give them is the name of the crew, the location, the time, and the teams. That's it. Friday, same thing. Send out another one, because I'm trying to get one to them on Wednesday, and then they get it back to me by Friday. They'll get a new one Friday, get it back to me by Monday, and we just keep rolling. That's why I think 2 to 3. And it just depends, also on the NBA guys, how much time they have. The good thing is I didn't touch on this on the video, is I asked, how are your NBA guys going to be able to do this when they're, especially during the season? I was shocking. I didn't know this because we're not NBA referees, right? But I did know that they have to be in their city 24 hours before the game. So let's say we've got a referee here in San Antonio. They've got to be here 24 hours in the city prior to their game. They have a lot of downtime. Usually they go right to their hotel and they're watching film anyway, so they've got plenty of time. He said it's easy. All I got to do is find out, who's where, when they get in. He has all information with their flights, because again, this is all their staff. He knows when they get in, what time their game is. Hey, this NBA referee, I need you to download this game and give me your breakdown. And then they just forward that link to them, and they're able to watch the game on their iPad, go through it, and they do this, send it back to Martin, and then Martin's just going to make it look a little pretty like this. That's all he does, is take information, make it look pretty, send it to me, and then when we go from there. Pretty straightforward process. So that's how we're going to do that. Says, question, does anyone have to attend SAB camp or camp approved by the board? That's on there. So go check it out. As far as your criteria to stay in good standing, it's all on there. So you can go take a look at that. Corey said,
Mark,
yes, 6.
Mark,
Yes.
actually,
Yeah.
let me add to that, because we had at one point, I looked at it too, we had at one point an SABOA or SABOA approved camp, and somehow the approved camp got lost. So we probably need to look at, that's one of those changes that I emailed you about.
Okay. Yeah. And I even put that
So,
here.
Yeah, we just need to add SABOA or SABOA approved camp.
Okay. Yes. All right. Perfect. So hopefully that answers that question there. Will the same DDR crew evaluate all crews from SOBOA? Will the same DDR crew? Brad, tell me what you mean by that. Will the same DDR crew evaluate all crews? So Brad, jump on here and explain what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is, I'm a recruiter. I do reference checks on people. I take one candidate, the same candidate, and I'll call 3 different reference checks. And I may say, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest you would rate this candidate, how would you rate them? And somebody might say 5, and the next person might say 5, and the next person might say 4, because I never rate anybody perfectly. So I'm never going to give anybody a 5. So if our DDR crew, if we have a different three officials or 2 officials, I don't know how many people are evaluating this tape, if it's just 1 person or if it's 2 or it's 3. But if one person believes that nobody's perfect, so I'm never going to give somebody 100, I'm just going to give them a 150 or a 200. And then the next person evaluates the same crew, they might be getting hundreds. It's just the perception. I guess I'm just wondering if the same 3 people that evaluate SABOA are always going to take those 2 or 3 films per week and evaluate it, or are there going to be other people with DDR that are going to be evaluating us?
Got it. Okay, good question. So the way it works, they have a staff of anywhere from 12 to 15. So from NBA to Division I, and then so they have some local high school people as well. Only 1 referee will do your game. So if it's your game, Brad, your crew will get sent to 1 NBA referee, and they're going to sit there and go through it and then send it back. So you're not going to get it from 3 different people. Now, I've had extensive talks with DDR about, you can't go into these games. Your expectations can't be that we're NBA referees. Our expectations can't be that we're college referees. We're high school referees. The really good thing is, I know you've been on them. They've been on Zoom meetings. All these NBA referees that are on there, they're on their staff. Martin has been on every single one. They're really understanding the high school level of where we are and understand that we need more training and we're not as good as NBA and college referees. So I've made it very clear, you can't go in there and just start destroying people and giving all these bad scores. So DDR understands the situation we're in, and they're not going to do that. They're not. Are they going to be, are they going to really critique you? Absolutely. Are they going to be fair? Yes. They're going to be professional. They're going to find some good things, some bad things, but they're definitely not here to hurt referees' scores by affecting their schedule. I made that very clear to them because I know a lot of people, even at the board, were asking like, yo, these guys are going to just kill our scores. We're going to be back like we did in the first year when we only had 3 100s, because that's what happened the very first year we did this. We came back with 3 100s because we brought in like Keith Kimball, Becky Marshall, and all them, and they were like, nope. Their expectations for us, that was probably on me. They were expecting us to probably be a lot better than we were. So I've made that very clear to them what our expectations are for them as far as them breaking down film. So it's a good question, but I honestly don't believe they're going to come back and beating us up and just like, oh, no one's a 100 right here. You guys are 300s, 400s, that and that. They understand, the level. They're doing a lot better with the level of high school. They're doing all these Zoom meetings and they're doing stuff in Vegas. They're getting so much more tapped into high school. I think by the season starts, they're going to be even further along of understanding the level of referees. And I can tell you this, they have one in Vegas and one in California. They do Zoom meetings with them. Ours are the biggest, but they have, 20, 30 referees. I can tell you, we are way better than Vegas and California. And they've made that very clear. Like the clips that we sent them and the film that I've sent them, they're like, yo, Texas, whatever you guys are doing down there, you're a lot better than the referees here in California and Vegas. So that's something positive to take away from. I want to share that with you. The camp, Chris, are we going to enforce the camp every year? Yeah, it's hard, right? It's hard because we're so busy, but yeah, Marvin can touch on that because we've got to keep up with it. I think now that we've got, and again, don't mean it's in a negative way, but we've got Becker and Gene, I think are having accountability as far as who's at camps, who doesn't go to camps, all that stuff. I think it won't be a problem. I think that list can get over to Marvin because honestly, I can't speak for Marvin, but I bet he had no idea who made camps, who didn't make camps. It was tough for him, but we will be more consistent on that. We can even do things like Zoom meetings at camps, Zoom meetings at training, those type things. Because as long as you're trying to better yourself as a referee, that shouldn't hurt your schedule.
Mark, also, I want to add to that. What we're going to do also moving forward is we are going to send out just a quick submission form email out that will ask you what camps did you attend and were as a participant or as a clinician, and to put what they are and when they are. So it's going to be incumbent on the members to respond to that. It's going to literally be clicks of the button. I created this last year and we actually quite didn't get it out to people, and it'll come back in electronic format so that we can easily get that information to the signers. So yes, it is going to be enforced. It is, what's the point of putting it in there if it's not? And I know it hasn't been in the past, but I will tell you that it will be enforced this year and moving forward.
And as far as camps goes, because of our policy the last couple of years, we have a good record who's been attending our camps. And I usually get feedback from Malcolm or Ernie Alice, even Mark. I've asked Mark, who attended the college camp that he went to get to know who went, find out who may have been picked up to work at the college level. I don't have a perfect record, but I got a pretty good record of people that have attended camps in the past.
Bill has a question. It's a Vicky.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Let me just ramble off of just thoughts to think about. Okay, what will be done with the ratings of the last 2 years? There was some good data there.
They stay.
If we're going to take a look at, say, this committee of Marvin, Mark, and Charlie to review and decide if those ratings might be too low, in fairness to our members, why don't we go back those last 2 years on the ones that were done, all right, so we at least maybe get a position that will help us to identify people say, for a new system if this thing is passed. Next one, I looked at your example, 21 clips for the entire game. Well, on a quick review, if you're saying I is incomplete or incorrect call, okay, of the 21, there were at least 13 that were incorrect. And then you're saying that all 3 of the individuals come back and get a 100 rating. But then you said that Malcolm, God rest his soul, wound up with a 300, but yet everybody knows that he's 100. So that kind of threw water on, to me, on how good that rating was and what kind of standard are those guys going to use. Maybe the best thing is to leave them out of a suggested rating, let them make the comments, and if it comes back to our council that's going to have a final say anyway, let's just give them a say earlier, right? I also have, this is just thoughts to think about. I also have a little bit of heartburn with your idea that 60 NBA officials will do it, but then you said that, well, one guy will take a look at it. Well, they may get into town earlier, but having seen people that rate NBA officials, all right, the commissioner says, here's what's going to be done this week, and they're looking at a lot of NBA film. They're not looking at high school film. And during the playoffs, I wonder if they have much time for it. Who's going to come first? The high school evaluation? Okay, now the playoffs are later. That's it. But maybe they won't be later next year because we don't know what this pandemic is going to do. Lastly, this year, okay, if we do have a season, okay, what are we going to use for the identification of officials for regionals and state considerations if we're not going to begin this process until, I believe you said, after December? And 75 a year is certainly workable, but we have to be a little bit clearer. We can't sell the NBA as the end all. We don't know how many chapters of what size are currently, say, on board with these people. And that was nice for you to say all about the things that they were putting together for training aids, which I think is great, and we need it. But if it's not done yet, we're buying into something that may be delayed. And it's not exactly what maybe we're looking for. I think a year of preparation and beginning next year might be a better avenue, okay? But I don't think we can put our whole dependence on this program right now with everything else that's going on. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll try to answer each one of those.
I don't need any answer, just think about them.
Oh no, what I want to touch on one, everyone's score stays right now. So if we started the season tomorrow, everybody's score would stay the same. So that's how the assignments would go, state list, regional, whatever, and everything would stay the same. Now to the second point.
I'm sorry for interruption, but if you're going to do it later, why can't you have the flexibility of your council of 3 to go see if there were any?
We've done that already. So
and nobody's been changed?
Oh yeah. So I was going to get to it later, but I'll get to it. But before I do, Malcolm got a 100. I was saying an example is if Malcolm did get a 300, we knew that would be, that doesn't look right. We all got a 100 in that game. All right. Just want to make sure that that's clear. Malcolm, myself, and Jared, we all got a 100. And yes, there was 13 or whatever you said, missed calls. So to Brad's point, if they really were beating us up and we missed 13 calls, you think we get 100s? No, if they were really thinking us as NBA referees, we'd probably be fired. So that kind of goes to it that they are understanding that the high school referees are not NBA referees. They understand it, okay? Now, the 150, what we did, myself, Marvin, and Charlie, is we moved some people into a 150. We had our 100s that stayed. We took I can't remember the exact amount. I would say maybe 10 to 11 individuals we took from the 200s and we placed them into a 150. It's 14. Okay, thank you, Diana. 14. That's fine. So 14 individuals got taken from a 200. Myself, Marvin, and Charlie discussed who we felt from those 200s were ready for a regional game and ones that were not. And that was a lengthy discussion. And that's who we moved. So if we did have to do the state and regional lists today, we would be able to do it without DDR because we have the data and everyone has the scores to do so. Now, I can tell you that the 150s don't know their 150s yet. So the 14 people that we moved, the only people that have seen that would be myself, Marvin, Charlie, and Diana. That's it. No one else has seen those 14 individuals. So they don't even know. But if the season started, that we would have a 100 list for our state, we would have 150 for regionals, and if you were a 200 referee, you wouldn't be on either one. So we don't need DDR to do that. We've already done that. The committee decided to come together and say, hey, if we're going to have this 150 that we added, we need to put some referees in there to then show examples of who's a 100, who's a 150, and who's a 200. We can see the difference between all those three type of caliber referees. That's why we added the 150, because there is a big gap from 200s to 100s, because we have 60, close to 70 200s, and we have 20 something 100s. The way that we did it this past year, now we're saying we have 90 referees that are eligible for state. We know that's not true. I don't know any chapter in the country that has 90 referees that are eligible for state. So that fixed it. To add to your point, Bill, we made those changes as a committee. We felt like we were credible enough to do it, and we agreed on it. Yes, we did come to some disagreements on some referees, but that's why we have three of us, 2-1. I got beat out in some, so did Marvin, so did Charlie. But I truly believe that myself and Charlie and Marvin, we want to do what's best for the chapter, not based on relationships. And I feel very, go ahead.
Did we look at 300s and 400s?
No, we did not.
Why not? Why not 300s?
Because that's what we're going to get into this year. We're going to be getting into 300s and 400s, but when the season starts, that's what we're going to look at. So we just went with the 150. Took a long time. It didn't take an hour. It didn't take a day. It took a long time to move 14 referees. So we wanted to put all our focus on that because we changed the ranking policy. We added a 150 tier. So if I came on here today and you said, okay, who's on a 150? Now we got no idea. Then how would the system look? It would look really broken, right? But we did the legwork on the back end to say, you know what, this is where we feel the 200s. There's a very select few that are really close to state, but they need some regional games. You can't jump from just playoffs to state. There's got to be a progression. So that's why we did that. But we're going, before the season starts, that was our next avenue. We're going to jump into 200s, 300s, and then figure out what we need to do there and then. But those were the first ones we wanted to get ranked. 150s, 200s, and 300s, get those ranked immediately with DDR. Now, if we don't do that and DDR doesn't happen, then we would do exactly the same thing. Myself, Marvin, and Charlie would look at that list every single year. Just like coaches look at a scratch list, we need to be looking at our referee list every single year to see who needs to be moved or whatever it may be. You know, people have great summers. People are putting in work over the summer. They're going to camps. They're doing this. That should play a factor in them possibly moving, or we need to identify those referees. Hey, we need to identify these 20 referees. Let's try to get them ranked right away. Let's see if we can get them bumped up. Because I'm not going to be, myself, Marvin, and Charlie, we just can't be moving everybody. There's got to be a system behind it, but we can definitely identify them. And that's what I said to my point is the first week, that's who we're going to identify, Bill. We're going after referees that we feel that we want to get them pushed higher. We want to identify referees that we can move up to get them better games, better assignments, and obviously make the chapter better.
Well, I thank you for your work, but I still think that there are officials for the last 2 years, if you're going to go 3 years from the Becky Marshall fiasco to limited evaluations last year, that there might have been a review of people in the 300s that also apply to that criteria. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Who else has a question?
That's fine.
Mark, my question was when you guys set out to evaluate a set of officials and the three of y'all I'm sorry, I got cut off. On which game it was that will be evaluated as far as the assigning?
Okay, Mike, you cut off. Say it again.
My question is, when you deem who's going to get evaluated, will all three of y'all have input on which game they will be evaluated on, like the assigning and that?
No, that's up to Marvin. That's nothing to do. Me and Charlie have nothing to do with assignment. All I would, we'd sit down and say, hey, we need these 6 referees ranked this week. Obviously, way before, right? We'll go through it, but just say, hey, the December 1st week, we need these 6 to 9 referees ranked. Marvin, put them in crews. And then it's up to Marvin. Marvin's deciding, not us. He would decide where he wants to put them and put them in games where, that would best fit the game, not the referee. We want to put crews together. That's a good mix up as crews. And I hope Marvin would put them in the games that they're capable to do. I mean, I can't speak on that, but I'm guessing, Marvin, that's what you would do.
Copy that.
So, Michael, what's your expectation?
It's just a question, Marvin. No expectation.
Damn, you can't have a question without an expectation.
But Marvin, that's right? We would just come up with referees and you put them where you want to put them.
We would identify who we need to evaluate that week. Okay. And then Henry and I, maybe Don, maybe Ben, we would sit down. Okay, we need these 3 guys are going to get evaluated this week. So we need to find a quality game where they fit well so we can help them succeed in their evaluation.
You just answered my question, Marvin. Thank you.
We would sign that game and then let you know what game it is, and that's the game you would go get film from to send to the DDR people. That would be my expectation.
Okay, question. Everyone that's 100 are considered a referee. That is correct. So the big difference from a 100 to a 150. If you're a 100, you are a referee in every single one of your assignments. The only way you wouldn't be a referee is if you're working with a referee. So if you're consistently a referee all the time, and I know me and Marvin have talked about this, as a chapter, we're going to do a better job of understanding who needs to be the crew chief or referee in that game. To me, it's a big deal who needs to be the referee. I know sometimes we want to give other people opportunity, but it should be the referee who wants to give someone else that opportunity. So that is because it's a big deal on the 100s to 150 that yes, 100s, you are a referee every game. A 150 that means that sometimes you're the referee, not every single game. And I know people are gonna be like, that's kind of vague. No, we understand when you're a referee every game and sometimes you're not. And if there is some confusion on that, maybe Marvin can touch on it, but that's a big difference from a 100 to a 150. Like a 100, you're a crew chief every game. You can work every single game, no matter the assignment, you're in it. The 150s, you're kind of a referee every once in a while, but you're not just quite there where you're consistently going to be a referee every night. So hopefully that answers that question.
Mark, did you get Joe
Mark said, you'll be assigned as an R, unless you're working with another R. But we hope our R's are cognizant to the fact that we need to bring people along. And as the rules allows you to do, you can appoint someone to do R functions, going to the table, tossing the ball, but that individual assigned as the R is the R for that game.
Diana, what you got?
I didn't know if you got a chance to see Joe Wicker's question and answer that.
But, can we be volunteered to evaluate, and can we evaluate more than once? Okay, good question. All right. So yeah, you can be ranked at any time, but be honest, like if you're asking to be ranked 3-4 times a season, we got some problems, right? So you definitely want to get ranked, and then once you get ranked and you're not happy with your score, okay, then the first thing you need to look at is not the score, you need to look at your feedback. That's something that I've been really big on with referees. I've got calls like, I don't like my score. What's the feedback? That's the first thing. Look at your feedback and then take that first. If you truly believe that you just got a bad score, then you can be reevaluated. The process of that is you have to pay $75 out of your own pocket. So that's an entire game fee, right? It's what it would cost DDR, which is 25 a referee. So you're gonna pay $75, and then you will get your score anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. And it also depends on how busy they are. But I said, hey, we're gonna have referees that want to get re-ranked. So the process would be, and we talk through it. So you would contact the committee by email, and then we would say, okay, this referee needs to be re-ranked. I would then get with Marvin. Hey, when is this next referee able to work, right? We're going to try to get him on a game, and then get that game film and send it to DDR and say, hey, this is a re-ranked referee. And I've talked to Martin about this. That means you do not get ranked by the same official that you did the first time. So you will get ranked by a different referee. And they have that on the sheet. It's going to say DDR staff because we did not want to put NBA referees' names on it. But they, on their end, they're going to know if it was Rodney Mott, Eric Lewis, whoever it was that did your game, that referee will not do your game the next one. Also, things to think about when you do get re-ranked. Understand that referee is going to be watching you only. So they'll understand that. So we talked about, do we just have them go in there and do the whole crew? And we discussed, no, it's a re-rank. You're paying $75 for it, which is your entire game fee. You should get now an entire breakdown of yourself. So those 21 clips, if you get those, they're all going to be that referee. So just something to think about when you do get reevaluated, that they're going to be looking at you a lot more individually than they did on your previous one, which could be good or bad. But that's what I think is what you would want. If you really want to get re-ranked, then they're going to really focus on you. The second part to it is they will not know your score, and they will not know the feedback on the first one. So they won't know, if it's, okay, this referee, they were a 400, and this is what they were, this was the feedback. They will go in with a blank slate, and they'll be told, hey, Eric, you need to referee Joe Wicker. This is who he is. Referee, evaluate him, give me feedback. And that's how we would do it there. Hopefully that answers your question, Joe. Okay, good. Any other questions? I'm looking on here. Like a question.
Hey, Mark, this is Brian Sinclair. Hey, I got a question that just kind of hit me within the last 10, 15 seconds.
Yep.
I would say the majority of our membership is probably the two-person crews. Who's going to be evaluating those guys during the summer, or gals during the summer?
Good question. So it's going to be 100 referees are going to rank. So if you're 100, you can rank. So we decided that it had to be the most credible referees in our chapter. So only 100s could rank the two persons. The way we're going to do it is Henry is going to run mini camps. So we've talked about this for the last 2 years. So we'll probably use the factory just because it's 2 floors, good location. We've got a room back here we can use. We've used it for camp. It's just a really good facility to use for training and to do what we've been doing. And then you will work 1 game and you will give up your game fee for the evaluator, and then you'll work 2 and get paid. Just like we did at the Gasol, right? You'll come in. So you're going to, the very first game, you'll be ranked and you'll work with a experienced referee. You're not going to work 2, say we're doing a 500 referee. We're not going to put 2 500 referees on an AAU game out here at the factory, and absolute madness happened. It happened to us 2 years ago, and I'll never do that again. Right? So it's going to be with an experienced referee. It'll be a 100, a 150, a 200, whatever, Marvin and Henry can do that. The good thing is Henry knows his referees. He knows the 400s, the 500s. So he knows what they're capable of. He knows the ones that like to blow their whistles more than others, ones that are really shy. So we're going to have to, be really smart in how we do that. But you would go out there and work that game, pay the evaluator, and the evaluator would be a 100, and that's how you would get your score. The 600s and the brand new referees, they're getting ranked during training. So the brand new referees that come in their first year up here with Henry and his staff, they rank them as soon as when the 9 weeks is over. Most of them are brand new. So they're not going to be 300s, 400s, and most of them are going to be there. Now, there is a select few that come in, oh, okay, this referee has some potential. Then either they get moved up to the advanced training that myself and everyone that we do after that, and then we take them in. And then during our advanced training, we also rank everybody out. That's what we did this past season. Everybody that went through us, it was probably 40, 50 referees. We were able to rank them because we get to see them for 8 weeks. So those are done. The brand new referees are done. Your kind of 400s, 500s in the middle that come to advanced training, and then everybody else, we're going to use the mini camps. And me and Henry did talk about it. I think we're looking at 150 to 200 referees right there in the middle. So if we can bang out 50 to 75 of those every summer, then every 3 to 4 years, we just continue to cycle over. Now, the goal is to get all those referees into the 300 category, and then they get evaluated by DDR. That's the goal. Hopefully that answers your question.
Very
Brian.
good. Absolutely.
All
Very
right.
good.
All right. Anybody else?
Mark, with all this going on, we just want to make sure you have the time for all this. Does this affect your schedule?
Right now, I'm not even. You see my gym right here? Do you see anybody in here with me? No, but during the
I'm
season,
talking
yes.
about.
So I know. During the season, I have a lot of time during the day. So as you know, I wake up 6 o'clock every day, and I take my kids to school. They go to school, and I don't pick them up till 3:30. So from 7:30 to 3:30 every day, I'm stuck to my laptop, and I'm able to do it. Luckily, I'm pretty savvy on a computer, and I'm pretty fast at what I do. So for me, no, it's not that much work. I know people say I say I a lot, and I don't mean it intentionally. It's just that because I do a lot of the work because I have the most time. Charlie James ain't got. I mean, Charlie James got time. He ain't trying to do it, and Marvin's super busy anyway. So a lot of stuff falls back on me, but it's not really I. Because I know that some people say, "Oh, I said I a lot on the presentation." I didn't mean to say that. It's just that when I said I changed it, like I literally went into the document and changed it. That's what I meant by that. Not I do this, this, and this. I talk to Marvin more than, me and Marvin talk a lot. We talk almost every day about things. So I'm always communicating. So I do have the time. It's a good question, Trez. But that's why I took this on, because I do have the time. I have the passion to do it, and no one else wanted to do it. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to sit around and wait. I'm going to go ahead and step up and do it. I'm not saying I'm the right man for the job. Absolutely not. But I have the time, and I'm continuing to grow and improve. So, yes, I do
Thanks,
have the
Mark.
time to
That
do it.
answers my question. That
Yeah.
answered my question. Thanks.
Okay, we got some here. Who decides whether the official will be evaluated 2 or 3 man? Not that they are 2 different evaluations. Yeah, so if you're at 400 and you're not doing a high school schedule. So for instance, if you're a 400 and you work 3 or 4 varsity games, like lower level, maybe you do 2-person, or you may every once in a while get a 4A game, you're not considered in that tier to be ranked by DDR, because that's not what you do on a regular basis. So Marvin would be the deciding factor on that. Is, hey, this referee, maybe they're 50-50, right? Half of their schedule is varsity, half of it is sub-varsity. That's a discussion that, hey, Marvin, do we get this person ranked in the summer, or do we get them ranked over through DDR during the season? And that's what we've got. I don't think that's going to be many referees. It may be case by case. And I honestly believe if a referee does work a varsity game and they don't get many and they want to be ranked, why would we not? Why would we not say, you know what, this is a referee that's trying to get into varsity games, and if that's when they want to get ranked on their, limited varsity games, that's up to them. My advice to them is say, hey, wait till you get more 3-person, mechanics under your belt, and you're getting more varsity games than sub-varsity games, because you want to get ranked at your best. I wouldn't want to get ranked if I'm only doing a handful of varsity games and I'm not real sharp and understand 3-person mechanics, because they'll know right away if that referee knows 3-person mechanics or not. And if they're out there right away and they're not understanding coverages and lines and that, then it's just going to hurt them. So that would probably be a conversation Marvin would have to have with those individuals. I don't want to shy away from them not having the opportunity to be ranked by DDR, but we want to make sure that it helps them and doesn't hurt them.
Hey, Mark, I have a question for you. I
Yes.
noticed Aaron had sent out the evaluation. I was taking a look at it today. I noticed you did away with percentages per category. So you're not going to do that at all anymore? Are you giving DDR, okay, we can only have our top 10% as a 100, top 10, next 10% as a 150? Are we done with that?
Yeah, good question. So that was really misleading, right? So if we had the top 15% and let's just say top 10% as 100. Well, that's misleading, because that's saying that we could only have 45 referees there, right? We're not capping any of them. So there may be some miscommunication. I've heard some people saying, well, in order for me to get into a 100 category, some of them have got to get out. That's not the case. We could have 453 100s. Like, there's no cap on any one. Again, the purpose of this is to hold people accountable, but also to improve referees' score. So that's why we took that out, because it was extremely misleading. And I had taken that from North Texas, and that's how I kind of did it first. Hey, let's just kind of implement some things they have. But it was, yeah, that needed to go. That took a 2-second conversation. Hey, this needs to go. Absolutely, it's gone. And that's what we did. Yeah. Okay, we've got some here. Okay, the assignment director is on the rate committee. Should we be concerned about too much power, separation of power? Yeah, that's came up. All right. So originally Marvin was not on it. It was actually me, Diana, and Kenny. But then talking to other chapters around the state is who knows your referees better than anybody? Your assigner. So we felt like what happened when it was me, Diana, and Kenny was it was us against Marvin, right? But we feel like this, if you have your assigner in that committee, I'm not saying it's too much power, but he has the most knowledge on every single referee. He's the one receiving phone calls. He's receiving scratches. He's getting feedback from other referees. Hey, this referee was late. This referee did this. He did this. Like Marvin gets so many different information that we did not know about and we wouldn't know about and we're not supposed to know about. Like certain information goes to Marvin that he's only supposed to know, but that would also, you'd want to know that on a rate committee to understand. Like I said, we can evaluate, re-rank any referee we want, but if we didn't have Marvin on our team, then we're expecting him to then just always pick up the phone and call and do that. It was just easier for us to have him on and have him join us. And I don't, to me, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's any conflict of interest, separation of powers. Me and Marvin have had some issues over the last couple of years. I think we're the closest that we've come due to this rate committee because we're coming closer on what we're trying to do. All of us are trying to get referees better and hold them accountable. And also, if there is a rate system in place, it takes away somewhat, not all, but some of Marvin's like judgment on certain referees. For example, he wants to put this referee in a playoff game. Well, they're not eligible by the rate committee. He can't do it, right? So those are the conversations that we have with Marvin, and I appreciate Marvin the last year or so jumping on board and doing it. I know it hasn't been easy, but I think the relationship has only got better over the last 2 years, and I think it will continue to grow. And I think if Marvin's on board, him being on the committee helps him be on board. I honestly believe him not being on the board would cause more more issues than not. That's not even my opinion. That's a fact, because I can tell you when he wasn't on it, we had more issues than him being on it. A great question. Marvin, I don't know if you want to jump on that and add to it, but I truly believe it's better having you on the committee than not.
Well, I concur with you. I guess the issue is worrying about who's got what power for everything. But when you think about it, the assigner, regardless of who it is, has a little more power than most just because of selections in ball games. What this does is really help when we get to the playoffs. So now we have a group of officials we know we can consider, and other officials we can't consider. So it really speeds up the assignment process, and it really helps when we start looking at the top tier, the top 18 elite group that works the state tournament games and the ones that work the state semifinals versus all the other games. Because putting together the 150 group puts them at a level of being able to work regionals and regional finals versus not working them at all. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Art, you got a question?
Talk to you later.
Hey, Mark, I got a question. It's Mike. Question. During the season, and I do have a concern when you have officials that just work nothing but men's game, and all of a sudden playoffs come around for girls, and this is a true fact, and we all know it, that all of a sudden they're put in the girls' playoff game, and we have other opportunities to give other officials that work girls' games. They don't get that opportunity. I'm not saying all the time, but I'm just saying, can we try to figure out or try to find a balance between that, between officials, I mean, it's more for Marvin's question maybe, that just works nothing but men's, and they know that they don't want to work girls' games during the season, but as soon as playoffs come around, I'm available to work in girls' playoff games. I'm just throwing that out. I don't know. Of course, it's two different type of style of games, and Is there a way that we could work that out, or do we have enough officials to do that? Or, you know where I'm going with this question.
Yeah, I can't answer that. All I can say is, I guess, Marvin, if their coaches pick, what do you do? I
Yeah,
can't
coaches
answer that.
pick, you can't do nothing about. But
you're talking about like games that are out of town or
out
unassigned.
of town. Yes.
Okay, then yeah, I don't know, Marvin. You got to touch on that. I can't
And
answer that.
when it comes to coach selections, it comes down to that. Still comes down to availability. Because even with coach selection, if, for example, in the first round, if we got 6 girls games, local games that we have to cover, then we got coach selections coming in, and typically you have those 6 school districts asking for officials. You need 18, 21 officials to cover games, and when you start getting names from the coaches, 10 of the officials are all the same. So you can't put 10 officials in 6 ball games. So you have to deal with that first come, first serve, and they get those games. And then we fill in, basically send the ADs who is not available so they can submit more names to get into those playoff games. Now, when it comes to officials that don't work a certain level, or gender, I should say, not level, but gender, there's less than a handful in the chapter. And we work hard in trying not to use them in playoff games unless it's a coach pick. And with coach picks, we take care of our teams first, and then we go to all the outside games to do that. So just like, working a 3A game, if an official is primarily working 3A, and they're lucky enough to work the 3A games that got 3-person games, and Mark Beer's available, I'm gonna do my best to keep those guys in that 3A game as long as they're ranked correctly, to use them before I would Mark. And I would use Mark where we need him based on the number of games we get and who can travel and who can't. And that's kind of the process that we've been using. So it's possible someone that doesn't work girls games is not going to get a girls playoff game unless there's a coach pitch.
Okay. Next question. If an official has a temporary medical situation, would there be a medical exemption or delayed? Absolutely. So if someone's coming back from an injury or hurt, there's no way we would want to have them evaluated. And that would be communicated through Marvin. And then we just know, hey, this individual is coming back from an injury or something. You let us know when you feel like you're ready to be evaluated. Again, the purpose is not to hurt anybody's score. We want to help them. We want them to be at their best. That's why we even gave November off. I don't particularly agree with it, but we've given some people November off not to get ranked, to get them back into things. Hey, we'll give you a month to, everyone says it, knock off the rust and all that stuff. So, and some people get hurt in November because they haven't done much for a couple of months. So we're trying to help people. To answer that question, it's a good question, but absolutely not. Yep. Another one, can an official send back questions or discuss evaluation with the rate committee? Absolutely. So the way that would work is if you have some concerns, some questions about your evaluation that you would like answers, the way it would work is you say, hey, send it to the email that we would have. These are the concerns I have. These are the questions. I'm not, Marvin, any of the rate committee, Charlie, are going to answer those questions for you because we don't know. We could have an idea what they mean. I would immediately then go and get with DDR. Hey, this is the evaluation. This is the question. Can you help us? That then DDR would contact that referee and ask, right? We're not going to start just assuming things. We have to go directly to the source. And we've discussed this. Hey, would it be okay if they have questions that's going to come up? How would we handle it? We'll go to the referee, probably on the phone call. Call them, possibly a 3-way between me, Martin, and the NBA referee. Here's the questions, here are the concerns. No, the referee is not going to get on the phone with an NBA referee. Absolutely not. We're not handing out numbers. But I'm able to get on the phone and talk, or Martin is, get some clarification back to you, and then hopefully that would answer the question. I'm not going to do skip steps and assume, even though it may be something that, I know what they mean. I'm not going to do that because you just never know. So I would go to the source, make sure I get accurate information, and then send that back to you. So yes, you can communicate through us. That was that one. Is there a goal with doing quality over quantity? Yes. Yeah. Whoever that question. Yes. The goal is definitely to do quality over quantity. That's a big motto of mine, even with my training and everything I do. Absolutely. That's what we want to do. We want to do quality, like 2 to 2, possibly 3. You know, I say 2 to 3 a week because he said that there's some weeks they're slow, so they could maybe bang out 3. But I asked, what could you do consistently? He said 2. 2, we could always get 2 evaluations every week, possibly 3. So I said, okay, let's go with 2 and then possibly 3. I'm not going to say 3 and then try to give you false information on that. Art, you have a question? You got your hand up, but maybe not.
No question. No, it's just
Okay.
I think I was. Thanks.
All right, I take your hand. Okay, any other questions?
Hey, Mark, this is Brian again. Question, does the rate committee change every year? Or is it you guys have like a 2-year term, or is that a year-to-year thing?
That's a good question. I actually don't know. I don't think there's a policy in there. I think, go ahead, Diane.
I can answer that. The committee is actually assigned by the president of our chapter. So as of right now, that would be me. And so obviously, you know, if we if the assigner were to change, as we have our current assigner, I think he's up next year. If he continues to be the assigner, then Marvin would continue to be on the committee. If he did not continue to be the signer, then whoever came on as a signer would be on the committee. And as long as I'm, you know, the president of the chapter, what I would do is, you know, ask the board to make sure that we are all still good with the committee we have. And so as of right now, that's what it looks like. But essentially, per our constitution, committees are assigned by the president.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Hey, Dan, one more question for you. How about the playoff committee? Is that going to be changed this year? I mean, over the last several years, it's just been out of whack. Are we going to be pretty much close to what Mark's trying to do, put in place, and your expectations are, you know, are we going to go through a new committee, or pretty much the same as it was last year?
So when you're talking about, are you talking, when you say playoff committee, you're talking about selection committee, is that right?
Yeah, correct. I'm sorry, state and regional committee. Okay.
Yeah, that, you know, that's something that I am still considering. Obviously, it's what's in place right now. It's what the board has put into place. So I don't see an issue with the people that are supposed to make up that selection committee as of now. It's about making sure the process is actually followed. And so, you know, that's the key. And so I know there is you know, it's, I believe, the state rep, the president, the assigner, a member at large. And am I missing anybody? Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And so that would be something we need to discuss. And I will say I need to go look at actually what the policy is right now, but essentially it would probably stand as it was this last year. I just need to go look and see if that general at-large member, it was a one-year thing and we need to elect someone else new for this year. I don't quite know, but I definitely will know before the season starts. But you know, that's what I'm looking at. And again, I don't think the people that are supposed to be making up that committee is the issue. I think the issue is how kind of things were done, and we won't get into all that. But no matter who's on it, process will be followed, and it will be based on this ranking system. So I hope that answers that.
Any other questions?
Oh, I just also got clarification. Thank you, Aaron Galloway, my Google master. Member at large is voted on every year. So then what we'll do, the board will ask all division reps to contact their members within their division. And then we will have people nominate others, and then a decision will be made on who that at-large member is for this coming year. Thanks, Aaron.
Great job, Mark. Excellent job tonight.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping on. No more questions. All right. It was recorded. I don't know what you want to do with that, Diana. I did record it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think for those, maybe, for those that weren't able to jump on, I think we make it available to them, so we get the information out. What we can do is, if you send that over to me, I'll get that out in an email to everybody, a link to it, and
just throw it on YouTube again, on our YouTube channel again. Is that good?
Yeah, YouTube channel works.
And send you the link.
Yeah, that sounds good. And then I just want to say to everybody, I appreciate everybody joining on. This went a little longer than we had stated, but I think it was important that everybody's question was answered. And the plan was for the board to vote on this in the May meeting, which is May 6th, which of course all members are welcome to join in the board meeting and observe. So if you're interested in that, let me know. So the board, we're just gonna have to discuss it. And if we feel, based on everything we've heard today and the questions and feedback we've gotten from everyone, if we feel comfortable as a board, then we'll make the decision to go ahead and vote on it. We may look at holding it. I don't know, but I think we just need to discuss it first. We obviously wanna make sure that everyone's comfortable with what we're moving forward with. This isn't gonna be the end all be all. We're probably gonna have to adjust again. We're fooling ourselves. We think this is the answer to everything, but these are definitely good steps. And I think, Mark, again, I appreciate all your work, all your effort, all the board members. Thanks for joining. And I appreciate all your efforts, because a lot of this came from that discussion as well. And so I really think it was important. So thank you all very much. I really do appreciate everybody's feedback.
Yeah, great job, guys.
Thanks, Art. Good to hear your voice, buddy.
Likewise.
Everybody take care. Talk to you soon.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good night.